Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Up. I'm your host, GamerK's. With Kingdom Hearts 3 literally days away, I decided to finally do my top 13 Kingdom Hearts worlds. Now, I will be doing them collectively instead of just game-wise because there's not enough worlds to do a top 13 list. And I'll be explaining which worlds from which game I will be talking about. Also, I'm crossing off Castle Oblivion off this list and Destiny Islands for the main fact is we don't really explore them. We're just pro in them for parts of the game. And Castle Oblivion was only a world at the end of Chain of Memories, and since you don't really get to explore it as much as just go through it, it's off the list. Let's get to it. Number 13, Agrabah from Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm putting this one on the list mainly because of, I love Agrabah. The first one in the first Kingdom Hearts game was kind of a clunky, it was kind of a maze of a place. This one, on the other hand, is very straightforward. The story of it is something out of Return of Jafar, but not so dumb and conceited. The world design is very good, with having it be pretty open, but more or less straightforward. The city of Agrabah is kind of open with the... What is it again? Right, the bazaar. The Cave of Wonders is actually more creatively done instead of just being empty caverns and everything. And they got rid of the cavern, the chamber where the lamp used to be. This world is very below on the list, because comes very, like the first game, it came in very late during the game. The boss battles aren't really exciting, and the story is, let's just say you can see it coming, it's just not interesting enough to make it higher on the list. So, a great Arabian Night, but not so much for a great game. Number 12, I'm really mad that we didn't get a good Lilo and Stitch world. But we did get Deep Space. Deep Space comes in late in Birth by Sleep. Actually, now that I'm realizing this, a lot of the worlds on this list come in late in the game. So, I guess I have a thing for late in worlds. Deep Space takes place most entirely on the prison ship from the beginning of Lilo and Stitch, which is a cool concept. I mean, we get to see how Stitch was put on the ship, what went on during it, and the boss battles are fun. We get to fight Gantu in Aqua's version, we get to fight a giant jellyfish Unversed in Ventus's, and then we get to fight Sparky from Terra's story. Isn't he supposed to appear in Stitch the movie? We get to see an experiment, so I'll give it a pass. Not to mention there's not a lot of characters in this world, which is okay. We get Jumba, we get the Councilwoman, we get Gantu, we get Sparky, Experiment 221, and we get Stitch, obviously. And this entire world is fun. We get to screw with gravity in the area. We get a vast open area and some enclosed to fight the Unversed. And yeah, I really do love this world. But it kind of reminds me like Neverland in Kingdom Hearts 1, where the entirety of the level was Captain Hook's ship and then the clock tower. So it wasn't really Neverland. But I digress. Not a Hawaiian roller coaster ride, but a very cool space adventure. Coming in at number 11, I'm a sucker for a good retro level in a video game. If it's black and white, if it's got the old-time music, and if it makes you feel like you're in a really old-time era, I'm gonna love it. Hence, Timeless River. This world is definitely one of my personal favorites. But it's lower on the list is because it has that huge world essence about it in Kingdom Hearts 2, because we're in the past of Disney, and I think that was a very fun, very clever way of doing this world. Not having it be its own world, but have it be a portal to the past. And having the different windows showing various sections of different, I think they're based on old-time Disney cartoons. I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me on that. But it's fun. It's old-school cartoons, and it's goofy. No pun intended. We get the Steamboat Willie. We get a miniature town, and we're all giant. We get a construction site. We get a burning building. We get saving Mickey's furniture from a black hole. Yeah, if you think I'm joking about that, that is actually a part of the level. Excuse me. And we even get to see Mickey as he used to be, but he doesn't speak, which shows into the black and white noir. There's the only people who talk are us and the two Petes. And I really do love this level. Whenever I played Kingdom Hearts 2, I would go there to grind, just because the music was so fun, and having everything in black and white was just gorgeous. It made me feel like I was in an old-time cartoon, and I love it. Number 10, Dwarf Woodlands from Birth by Sleep. I gotta admit, the Snow White world really impressed me, because I didn't think that there was much they could do with it. I just didn't think, because there wasn't much, because the movie is like only an hour-ish long, and it gets to the point of the story really quick. But there are some places that we do get to see, and I love. We get to go see the mines where the dwarfs work. We get to go to their house. We get to go to the creepy forest where the trees actually do come out and attack you during Ventus's story while you're protecting Snow White. I think that was a brilliantly artistic touch. We get to go to the open meadow. We get to go to the castle. We get to go to the sewers where the queen is. And I gotta say, every little detail they do in this world is spot on. And it really does give you that nostalgic feel of being in... Okay, obviously I'm gonna say being in the world, but it does have that nostalgic feel of the movie. The reason it's lower on the list is the boss fights, which aren't really that good. I mean, in Terra's story, we fight the face in the magic mirror within the magic mirror. In Aqua's story, we repeat the process. And then in Ventus's story, we fight a giant tree unversed that should just be Treviant's Mega Evolution. For all my Pokemon fan viewers out there, you'll probably get the joke. But yeah, Dwarf Woodlands is very fun, it's very nostalgic, and it's a great open first world for Birth by Sleep. Whistle while you work, I'd rather sing while I attack. Coming at number 9, if my girlfriend is watching this video, this is probably her favorite that she's played so far. Beast's Castle. I thought this was going to be an amazing world, and I wasn't wrong. When I first played Kingdom Hearts 2, Beast Castle was so far on my list, and it really does do well. It tells I wouldn't say a good story, but it does carry... I don't know exactly how to explain it, because the majority of the Disney world plays well with the movie, but this is more of its own story. Kind of like how Halloween Town was with Kingdom Hearts 1, where it played its own story. I really enjoyed that. And the same goes for Beast Castle. But they do well to incorporate the game elements into it to make it its own story. The level design is very good. It's not as big as it is in the movie, which gives less annoyance for backtracking throughout the level. We do have the West Wing being all big, bright, and lit up to all hell. And they even incorporated the Beast rejected statues for that part of the level. We have the dungeon, which is the darkest part of the game, which I really enjoyed. It gave a little mystery. And then as we get closer to Beast's room, it's darker. And everything else in the room is darker. And the ballroom. The ballroom is so beautiful. The attention to detail. I really do think that the artists went into the sketchbook of Disney to find the details within the ballroom and to copy it exactly. All the boss battles in this game are basically, in this level, are basically pure blood heartless. So I think that kind of fits with the world. I don't know how, but it fits for some reason. It's a tale as old as time, and it's a beautiful tale to be told in this game. Number 8, Symphony of Sorcery. I challenge you to try to find a Dream Drop Distance world that is worthy of a top list. And Symphony of Sorcery is definitely one for me. Mainly because Fantasia is not an easy movie to build a world on because of its alternating scenes. It doesn't really have a clear story throughout the movie. And every scene has its own music, has its own personality. And I loved it. I loved every single scene. Every single part of this game made me want more. I wanted more of this level. I really did. From the spring and the heaven scenes to the autumn, giant autumn forest and the cold winter tundra to the boss areas. Except for Karabog. I'm not going to get into that because I already made my feelings known in my top 13 worst Kingdom Hearts bosses list. But the Spellican fight area where Mickey's doing his magic scene with the shooting stars, it just felt so cosmic, so beautiful. And the music felt great for the scene. It was the Fantasia music. And I loved every second of playing that boss battle. I loved every second of this level. It's not higher up on the list because it is a later world and it's done beautifully. Don't get me wrong. But this kind of score was set for a different kind of level. But I loved the level. Loved it. Everything about it was beautiful. Now let's continue. Number 7, Castle of Dreams. Oddly enough, another Disney Princess world got on the list from Birth by Sleep. And I love this world. It didn't add too much into it. Like it had the front of the palace. It had the palace. It had the ballroom, which was a very wide open and beautiful area to fight. The music in this level was just so beautiful too, bippity boppity boo, and it's so elegant. It's so beautiful. And then we have the house where we're shrunken down to the size of a mouse. Okay, obviously that's kind of stupid saying that considering it's Cinderella. And it just works going through the cracks of the walls, going through all of that in certain parts. And it was just a gorgeous world. And they really did a good job of tying in Cinderella's story into the Kingdom Hearts story. It was just perfectly woven. I love each of these worlds was done very well for the story of Kingdom Hearts. I'm just going to say that right now. But Castle of Dreams does it so well, and it's such a beautiful world. I love replaying it every time I play Birth by Sleep. Number 6, Olympus Coliseum. The most used world in the Kingdom Hearts series. And I gotta admit, wait a minute. Upon thinking about it, Olympus Coliseum is one of the only ones that doesn't really follow the movie very well. Until the second one, now that I think about it. Birth by Sleep is when Herc was a teenager, and, no big story. Kingdom Hearts 1 was fighting in the tournament. Okay. So, Kingdom Hearts 2, when they added the underworld, was one of the only ones that made it feel more like the movie, because we had Herc being distraught and everything like in the movie. So I'm really hoping that Kingdom Hearts 3, from what I've from what I've seen, they're already doing the Titan stuff, so that's a good thing. But Kingdom Hearts 2 really gets on the Olympus Coliseum from Kingdom Hearts 2 gets on this list because they added the underworld. They made it feel alive. I realize it's weird that I'm saying that. But they did so much with it. They had the maze kind of corridors in the one section. They had the straight, narrow path to Hades' chamber, which feels so elevated. It feels... just the color palette, just using the blacks, the blues, the grays, the sickly green. It just made the underworld feel lively, and I love that in Kingdom Hearts 2. So, I'm looking forward. I always look forward to replaying it. Let's go from 0 to hero in our next world. A personal favorite of mine, Kingdom Hearts 2 at number 5, Halloween Town. I love Halloween Town, and especially in Kingdom Hearts 2. Having the Christmas decorations all around Halloween Town, and then us going through the forest and going into Christmas Town. It just looks so like the movie. It looks so gorgeously done. And it makes you... I don't know why, but every time I go to Christmas Town, I get a little childhood glee looking at it. Like, this is what the North Pole looks like. And not like what happened in Tim Allen's Santa Claus. I'm sorry, there is no way these elves are this technologically advanced. Nightmare Before Christmas looks more realistic than anything else. I'm just going to say that right now. And everything else in this world just screams that it was done in Square Enix's fashion, but they still kept the Tim Burton feel to it. They had it dark and creepy at some points, but then lively and fantastic in Christmas Town. And I just love every little bit of this world, even the small details that they get. The pumpkins in the graveyard on Spiral Hill, Zero's grave as you're walking through the graveyard, the other holiday doors in the hinterlands. I just love it. So, what's this? What's this? It's not my favorite level. What's this? Coming in at number 4, Twilight Town. Very oddly, I put Twilight Town on the list. It's not as open as the other worlds. Okay, it is, but not lively. Twilight Town was one of the most confusing levels for me when I started Kingdom Hearts 2, because I didn't know what this was. Kingdom Hearts 2 was my first game, and so I didn't know much about the other worlds that they added. I thought it was going to be straight up Disney, but Twilight Town really pushes the envelope in creating its own world. Unlike Traverse Town, where it's supposed to be a world for people who lost their worlds, Twilight Town's its own world. It's got its own inhabitants. It's got, okay, some Final Fantasy characters live here, as Kingdom Hearts does. But just the fact that this whole world, everything is at sunset. The entire time, everything's at sunset. And it works. It brings out the beauty of the architecture of the town. Even the clock tower at the train station. It's a beautiful, beautiful world. And I can't wait to do more in it in Kingdom Hearts 3. I am in love with Twilight Town. It's one of my... It's so high on the list because it's a unique world. The color palette is pretty good, using the yellows and the beaming reds. It just brings life into this new world, and I can't wait to go back into it. So Twilight Town is one of my favorites. Now, we're getting into the top 3. Be prepared, as number 3 is the Pride Lands. The last world you unlock in Kingdom Hearts 2, save for space paranoids, and if you didn't do it, Atlantica, and the world that never was, but I digress. Pride Lands is really good because the colors in the game differ depending on where you are. From when you're in the elephant graveyard, it's kind of blues and bone texture, brown and gray, and it feels dead. The savannah is vast, this huge area. It's so dark green, and it feels like a dead wasteland. The Pride Rock, it's the same color palette as the movie, and that makes it feel like there's some dread going on in this. That's what I love about this world. It splits just using color palettes, and you knowing the story of the game, of the movie, you know exactly what's going on here. Because, like I said, the Elephant Graveyard, the Savannah, the Pride Rock, it all feels dead, and the color palette shows that. But then when you get to the Oasis part, everything is so colorful and bright, you know that there are no problems here. Which makes me think that this place should be called Hakuna Matata, because there's no problems, and it's all bright, colorful, and cheerful. Not to mention being turned into animals and completely screwing around with your fight mechanics really does elevate this world's difficulty for new players of Kingdom Hearts. This level is definitely earns its spot in my number 3 spot, just for the sheer fact that just from using color play, they tell the tone of the story throughout the Pride Land world. And I love that. Coming at number 2, The World That Never Was. The final level of Kingdom Hearts 2 and Dream Drop Distance. But I'm putting Kingdom Hearts 2, The World That Never Was. Because even though the Dream Drop Distance was so more vast a little bit, I think number 2 really explores more of the castle and not just the ground below the castle. Oh, this is such a beautiful world. Even though it's at permanent night, you still get a light source from the moon, the Heart Moon, and it's just beautiful. This world seems dark and empty. That's the thing I love about this world. Even though it's a huge city, the scape of it is this huge giant city, there's this giant white castle there, and it's a complete dead world because all the inhabitants are in that castle. So it kind of feels like a New York a little bit, because it's so huge, it's so vast with all the skyscrapers, and yet there's the castle is the only source of life. And the castle itself is beautiful. Being pure white and silver and gray, it isn't muddied. The whole world doesn't blend in with itself. You can definitely distinguish certain parts of the castle, and I love that. Not to mention, we get to go through different places of the castle just by going through portals at the main part of the world. And I love this. I just love this castle so much. I wish that someone does a Kingdom Hearts theme park and includes this world there in some way or another. Like, have the castle and have all the different rooms look like the parts of the world, the game. I would go yearly just to go to that theme park if they ever do that. Well, A World That Never Was is number 2. Now it's time for my number 1. This world has everything. It's got good color, it's got good design, it's an empty world, but just the sheer impact that it has brings it to the top of the list. GamerK's number 1 Kingdom Hearts world is the Keyblade Graveyard. Another final world. This world is empty. There's no life there. But you feel the presence in this world. It's a vast wasteland where there are keyblades in the ground, and you can just feel the tension as you're going through this world that the final battle is about to come up, because there are cyclones where you fight the unversed, and they're giant size, of a good majority of them. It shows that it's a final test to get you to that final boss and the end of the game. The Keyblade Graveyard has no life in it whatsoever. I've said this numerous times, but it just makes it all the more better because there's no distractions. It's a complete battleground for the final fight. How many times can you do that within a world without making it cliche? You know, have the final battle be in this barren wasteland, and this world does it to perfection. It really does. I mean, throughout Birth by Sleep, we go to it, but we don't know what it's called because it was always called the Badlands. But just the design of the level alone and seeing it transform throughout the final battle, having these different pillars, and it's just a beautiful final world and my favorite world throughout because of the final battle and how it changes throughout the climax. It goes from being a wasteland orange to a mountain high dark light blue for the terrain during the when you first get there and during the final battle. And I love that about this world, how again, how just color play can change a perspective of a world. And I know it's going to be in Kingdom Hearts 3, so I'm really hoping they up the ante for the final confrontation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was GamerK's top 13 favorite Kingdom Hearts worlds. Really hope you enjoy the list. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and coming next week, after Kingdom Hearts 3 is out, I'll be going over my favorite enemies. Heartless, Nobodies, Unversed, and the Nightmares. I'll be starting with the Heartless because they were the first enemies of the series. So, make sure you're filled with darkness as you join me for my favorite Heartless. This is GamerK. See you guys next week. Logging out.